The 2025 NFL season is officially underway, and we got some big news coming around. We got a lot of it through the legal tampering period, but we're going to dive into everything here on Forward Progress today and in the days moving forward. So if you're interested in some off-season content, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm your host, Jason Cooper, here alongside Rob Pizzola. Today we're going to be looking at Justin Fields going to the New York Jets. I think one of the more shocking signings of the offseason. We really didn't know what was going to happen to Justin Fields, if he's going to stay in Pittsburgh. And we didn't know what was going to go on with the Jets QB situation, and especially with Aaron Rodgers. He was for sure leaving. We didn't know who was going to be up next for the Jets. Were they going to go through the draft? How are they going to solve things? Anyways, they end up with Justin Fields. Signs a 2-year deal, $40 million contract, $30 million guaranteed, 26 years old. I mean, former first-round pick. Rob, what was your initial reaction to the signing, the dollar amount, and if you think, the Jets are moving in the right direction after that disaster that was the Aaron Rodgers signing?
Yeah, so I was coming out of a recording when I saw the Adam Schefter tweet about this signing, and my reaction was an audible laugh out loud. I did actually laugh to myself when I saw this contract. Not that it's crippling in any stretch of the imagination. It's $30 million guaranteed, 2 years, $40 million deal. That's not terrible. I thought Fields would probably just get like a 1-year prove it type of deal. He ended up getting 2. Good for him. I really just don't know what the Jets are doing. I think a lot of people see this untapped potential in Justin Fields that, he's 26 years old now. He's been through a couple different offenses. He's shown the same inability in both offenses, which is to anticipate throws. He kind of waits way too long for his receivers to come out of routes, and he relies on his running a little bit too much, and it just hasn't worked out. So, is there that potential? Maybe new offensive coordinator coming over from the Detroit Lions. That might help things a little bit. Potentially a hidden gem for that offense. But overall, honestly, not supremely excited about Justin Fields' prospects going forwards.
Yeah, fair enough. And I kind of felt the same way too off the hop, but then I looked at it a bit. I was like, you know what? It's a 2-year deal. It's rather low risk. I guess there is still technically upside from it if you really believe in Justin Fields. I took a look at what would happen if they were to cut him after next year. They would only take on $12 million dead money, and then $9 million in dead money the year after that, and then 6 and 3 over the next 2 years after that. So it's not too big of a risk in terms of dollar amount. And I see what they're swinging for in upside. And you kind of already got around to it, but we saw Justin Fields last year, right? He looked okay with the Steelers, but then he was benched, and Russell Wilson came in, looked way better. Offense looked much more explosive. We saw it with the Bears, really struggled there. So you really think that do you think there's any, juice left to squeeze out of Justin Fields, or is he what he is at this point? Do you think he has that ceiling at all that made him that first overall pick years ago?
I mean, I don't know that ceiling is there. Maybe there's a good quarterback ceiling there. He's going to go into a Jets team that the interior of the O-line is really strong for that team, one of the best interior O-lines in the entire league. But honestly, weapons-wise, it's one of the weaker teams going around when you think of, you have Wilson as your number one, and then you're looking at Malachi Corley and Xavier Gibson. It's not a great, core in terms of weapons there as well. Listen, I like to think probabilistically, right? I'm not here to say Fields can't be something, but I think if we're talking probabilistically here, the likelihood that he's going to amount to being an above average, good quality quarterback in the league at this point, having seen what we've seen, it would take something game changing. Something would have to click with a new offensive coordinator to make that happen. So I just think with the Jets, I don't know that there's great alternatives this year, right? I didn't like this free agency class of quarterbacks personally. I think, you look at the draft, they're not going to have a lot of options available to them. They got to find a quarterback in some way. So I get swinging for the fences on a low risk type of deal. I just don't think this is really going to accelerate the franchise forwards over the next couple of years.
Sounds like another year of stalling for the Jets. We're going to get into this a little bit more. Before we do, want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors over at Fanduel. It might be the offseason, but if you want to bet on the NFL draft and NFL futures, Fanduel is the place to go for that action. Fanduel has tons of options, including stuff on the NFL draft, NFL awards market, coach of the year, offensive player of the year, MVP. You can even take a look at who's going to go first overall, first wide receiver off the board, first defensive player off the board. So many options available at FanDuel. So make sure you visit FanDuel.com/forward progress to download America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/forward progress. All right, Rob, let's take a step in the bookmaker's shoes. let's pretend to be Fanduel for a second, right? It's really early in the offseason. A lot can happen between now and the start of week 1. I mean, we still have a little bit of free agency left over, the draft, preseason, a lot of moving parts. But if you were FanDuel and you had to release a line today on the Jets win total, what would it be and why?
Okay, good question. And I'm notoriously bad at setting these prices because I don't do a lot of work in the offseason on this type of stuff. So first and foremost, I will say outside of Fields, I haven't loved the Jets offseason so far. I think like the big other splash for them was Brandon Stevens, who is coming off a well below average year. He was targeted a lot in coverage. I don't know that makes them better. They signed Andre Sisco as well. That's not going to move the needle for them a whole lot. So I don't think they've had a great offseason. We don't know what the schedules are going to look like just yet. We know the teams that they're going to play, but we don't know exactly how that's going to shape up either. So with that information, I think you're probably looking at a 6.5 juiced towards the over, something like 6.5 over minus 130, roughly in that range. I mean, I'm just trying to ballpark a price where it would be tough for me to click one side one way or another instantaneously. That's kind of where I see the Jets right now. Still a step behind the Bills, definitely. Miami, by virtue of having Tua, probably still better team overall. And who knows what New England is this year as well. You get another year of Drake May. Really tough to forecast it, but I'd say 6.5 juiced over is where I'm going.
I love it. That's exactly what I put in the sheet. I don't know if you saw that. I have 6.5 juiced over. It's minus 140. So pretty close. I don't know if you're on the right side there, if that's the case.
Now that I've heard that, I don't know. I don't know, Jay.
All right. Last question before we sign off here. Quick gut instinct letter grade. What do you give this signing on a letter grade scale?
Okay. Notoriously hard grader here. It says a lot about me as a person. I will go with a D plus for Justin Fields because I just don't believe he truly has the potential that most people think he has. I understand swinging for this at this point. He's kind of in his prime. These are going to be the years. If he's going to do something, it's these types of years. But I think probabilistically speaking, I don't think it's going to work out. I do think they need to get a few more weapons here in free agency or in the draft. And honestly, there's a lot more holes on defense than I realized as well going into the year. I do think that there's like a pretty decent front seven overall. Obviously, you still have Sauce Gardner, although there's some rumors about him going elsewhere. Really tough. But on this signing alone, I'm going D plus for Fields to the Jets.
All right, notoriously tough grader. I gave a B. I like the upside here and kind of low risk. It's kind of going to be all on the new offensive coordinator to kind of maximize what you get. And at least you're getting fans in the seats. I mean, Jets didn't have a lot to look forward to this year, so that was my grade. But anyways,
is it fans in the seats? Like that's like another thing. It's like, because this could go to shit real quick, right? And then it's not fans in the seats. It's like, Fireman Ed, depression, everyone, all the boo birds. I will say, like, we didn't really talk about Tanner Engstrand coming over from the Lions, who was like their passing game coordinator on offense. I don't know enough about him, but I think he did the Lions passing attack was really good. They schemed guys wide open. I think they turned Jared Goff looks way better than Jared Goff actually is as a quarterback. So I do think that, like, you look at the Jets offense last year, Nathaniel Hackett, Aaron Rodgers, like this has to be an upgrade in OC, in my opinion. I don't think it gets much worse than that. So maybe there's that can flip it for Fields. But based off what we've seen on Fields historically, I'm not the guy that just thinks like, boom, he's going to flip a switch at this point in his career.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm an eternal optimist, and it crushes me every time. So anyways, it is what it is. That wraps up for us here today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you made it this far, that means you like this content, so please do us a favor. Smash that like button. Another reminder, hit that subscribe button as well. We got tons of off-season content, coming your way. We're going to be doing some draft stuff as well in the near future, reacting to some free agency news, all that kind of stuff. If there's any big trades, we'll be reacting to it. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. And yeah, that's it for us here today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.